All right, we are live. Andreas Behm here from Altis Sprints and Hurdles coach with none other than, and still 10 years later, world record holder Aries Merritt. Aries, welcome.
Thanks for having me. Feels good to be here. Feels good to see you.
10 years later, lots of memories there, right? I mean, who would have
Yeah.
thought? Did you think this world record was going to last 10 years?
I actually kind of do. I always say that is because it's not an easy record. I feel like the record is one of the more hard ones to break because hurdles, in order to break records in hurdles, you need to be consistent. And consistency is not something that any of the hurdlers in the 110 have figured out how to be at that magic sub 13 level, that no one's really consistently doing it. And like I was. And so like once I start seeing that level of consistency, then I might get a little bit nervous. But records are meant to be broken. So I welcome the record to be challenged and to be broken eventually. But 10 years is a really great run.
Yeah, man. Like I said, I'm with you. I always felt like records were meant to be broken, but once it got to that like 9-year mark, I was like, you know what? It would be kind of cool if it actually lasted for 10 years, around decade. And I mean, definitely grateful, certainly to be a part of that, because you also see records, and I believe it was a 5K or 10K on the women's side. Someone had set that record, and then like 3 or 4 days later, someone else broke the record again. So the person literally was world record holder for like 3 or 4 days. So, I think we've seen all kinds of records get broken. So for it to last that long is really kind of cool. And I'm with you. I mean, the sport is there to evolve. And so I welcome anyone to, it's not mine, but, obviously I played a part in it. So I'm excited to see what the next step in evolution in hurdling is. So, but man, just to take a stroll down memory lane, like, take us through that world record run. Like what was going on that day, and take us through the world record a little bit, if you, whatever you can recall. So
what was going on that meet? Let's start there. So we almost didn't go to Brussels because of scheduling reasons. We'll say that. So we almost didn't go to Brussels. So there was that. And then when I got there, it was a lot of stuff that we had done prior to, a lot of activities that we had done prior weren't really things that we did this last meet of the year. We didn't lift weights. The pre-meet that we had was just like very reduced. I had a really sore mouth because I had a wisdom tooth that was growing in the wrong way. And so I was like over it. I was ready to go home. It was the last race of the season. And Mark convinced me to go. My former agent convinced me to go. And so there we were in Brussels, and it was the very last meet, Diamond League final. And I was just, it was just one of those days. And my sister came from Atlanta as well, and so she was there, and she was getting on my nerves because I was complaining about my mouth being hurt. And she's like, "You just need to suck it up and just run this last race." And I'm just like, "Get out of my room, get out of here. I don't need this right now," because I'm trying to focus, and I was just dealing with a lot. But we made the best of the situation. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd certainly say so. Obviously, I think it's fair to say that neither of us were expecting to run that fast. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's a very valid point. I had just came off of running in Germany. We went to Berlin, and I ran like 12:97, which was the slowest out of the series of 12:9s that I had run that year. And I had like a perfect 1.0 wind. And I was like, man, I'm running kind of slow in comparison. Well, it just was a slower version of 12 seconds, still kind of fast. Still would win a lot of stuff now. So, but I just ran a slower version of what I've been doing all year. And it was, we were approaching, a full indoor schedule, a full outdoor schedule, very last race of the season, September. So, I just like, oh, well, it's been great. I'm not getting the world record. It's over. Now, I'm just going to go out here and I'm going to run fastest one last time. Hopefully I can break 13. Hopefully I can break 13, and we will see what happens. And then that day itself was just kind of like, it's you have duty and obligation when you become Olympic champion and world champion. You have to do the Olympic parade at every post uh, Olympics competition. So there's an Olympic parade. So you're taken away from your warm up and you have to parade around in a car, a really expensive car, wave to the crowd. And so you have to kind of time your warm up a little bit early so that you're warming up way early. You have enough time to come back to the warm up area after you're done with the Olympic parade and still, go over hurdles and still do the basic need that we needed to do to, get on the line. So it was kind of like frantic. I remember the warm up area being divvy. Because you remember that the warm up area was like,
they rolled out these new it wasn't a permanent track, right? It was like a makeshift lanes that they'd rolled out, and they somehow didn't connect super well, didn't have them like connected or taped down super well, so they're like divots in it and stuff too. So yeah,
sometimes you were running like uphill. It was just weird. And Andreas like, yeah, we're only doing like one approach. And so I was like, oh, okay. So, I got sprinted, got warmed up. We did our one approach and that was it. And I'm just like, wow. So this is how we really doing it. It was kind of funny.
Hey, we didn't have that much time. You were already patterned. For the record, anyone listening, just doing one approach and warm up is not normally how we do it, but it was end of the season and, you were already, tired but still, in pretty good rhythm. So we just decided to continue to shorten and truncate your warm up to get you through the race.
Yep. And so, went through warm up, did everything kind of normal, except for like, my warm up wasn't anywhere near normal because of the interruptions. And we just went out there and I remember being on the line and like, I'm just like, okay, this is the last one. I get to go home tomorrow. I'll see my dogs. Haven't seen my dogs like 3 months. So, I was happy and I was in a state of peace because in my heart, I was like, oh, well, the world record is just something I'm going to have to try for the next year because, we've exhausted our opportunities. I'm tired. It's not happening. And so, so when I stepped on the line, I just really didn't have any expectation. I didn't have any inclination, any expectation, any indication that I was going to break the world record was not something that, I was shooting for on that day. And, we went out there and the gun sounded and I tried to make it a point not to false start. So I just wanted to sit in the blocks, not like do anything outlandish and get myself thrown out of the Diamond League finals. And so my start wasn't really the best, but it was doable. And we had some units that weren't really the strongest in the front half of my race as well. Not like that it had been like that all year. I'd run much faster later or earlier in the season for the first like 3 hurdles. And so there was just that I didn't do well. And then the middle was really good. So I can't take anything away from that. That was really good. But the beginning wasn't as strong as it had been all year. And, we walked away with the world record at the end. But just feeling what it was like to break the world record, it was very, very much of a, I'm running the same race I've been running all year kind of feeling. It was very much of, okay, I'm executing here. It's the same rhythm, same pattern. Nothing's changed. But I did have this thought in my brain when I was like at 7, and I'm just like, where is Jason? Because normally Jason was the athlete that was right next to me, and I could see his foot in my priff. Every time I would go over a hurdle, I would see his foot coming up. And I'm like, where is he? He's not here. Something's not right. It's the end of the season. He must be tired just like me. And so, he's just not there. And so I thought about it again when I came off the last hurdle. I was like, this must be really fast, or it's probably just going to be 12.9 again. And I'll cap up a really good year. And so when I crossed the line and glanced over and I saw 81, I was just in shock. I was really confused. And I just started screaming because I was so confused that like it was 81. And I'm just like 81. And then Mark, my agent, he runs, he was like, oh my God, look at the time. And I'm just looking at it like, I don't believe that. Is that real? Is it real? And then it rounded down, I almost fainted. When it rounded down to 80, I was like, oh my God, like what have we done? We've done something spectacular and amazing, something that I thought I was going to do earlier in the year. because we were already running that fast earlier in the year. We just didn't put it together at the time. So I would say that there is still a lot of room. Well, there's still room for improvement on the world record because we were the last race of the year. We had run much faster and worse. Yeah, well, we'd run much faster, but the time didn't show because it was in worse conditions. And so, it was already there. I would say I would have probably run 12:8 based off of numerical data, maybe about 3 times that year, based off of like the headwinds we ran into in some races, unfavorable conditions in other races. Like we ran 12:93 in the rain and in the cold in Crystal Palace. It was cold and raining. It was like 50 degrees and rain. And so that was 12:93. We were at 12:95 into a minus 1.0. It was just the conditions just weren't there. And on that day, the conditions were kind of there, but we were at the end of the year, so we didn't know. So there was a lot of unknown there. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think to break a lot of world records, having some good conditions is a part of it, and having them on a certain day is part of, the little bit of, serendipitous luck that comes with it. So, I mean, I just remember being in the stands watching it, and the first thing when you crossed the line and I saw the time, obviously, I was also shocked. And then the scoreboard didn't initially put up a wind reading. And so I'm just like screaming. The people are probably thinking I'm insane because I'm just like, they don't know who I am, right? So I'm just screaming at the scoreboard as if the scoreboard can hear me or care what I'm yelling at it to like put up a wind reading. Having watched the race and felt what was in the stadium, I was pretty certain it probably was wind legal. But you obviously want that like last little final confirmation, to make sure it doesn't pop up and say like plus 2.1 or something like that. And then, then I probably would have ripped out a chair from the stadium and thrown it into the
I knew once I saw it that it was wind legal because there was no way. It was like still could be in the stadium.
Yeah, it felt fairly still, but we all know stranger things have happened, right?
That's true.
We know some races that were like, there's no way this is ever going to be wind legal. All of a sudden it's like, oh, plus 1.4. And then there are other races where you're like, it feels fairly still, plus 2.5. And you're like, really? So yeah, but once we had that final confirmation, that was it for me. Then I kind of lost it and scared some people around me. So you said how you felt right after the world record. How did you feel a little while later? I remember you had to go to a press conference. And
yeah.
What was that once the adrenaline wore off and the excitement?
So the feeling that I felt in the immediate after, so after I had broken it and taken all the pictures and did all that jazz, and I was doing my victory lap, and I was like starting to my calf started to tighten up. I was like, oh, my calf is a little tight. And then I was fine. And then I continued my warm up. And I went and I believe I spoke to Colin Jackson because I did an interview with BBC. And I was like, man, I'm really getting sore. And so then I was just like finishing up my interview because I was like, I need to sit down for a second because my calves were on fire. And then all of a sudden, we went into the press area, and then my quads started to tighten up. My calves were super tight, hamstrings tight, back starting. I was like, dang, I just ran out of my body. I just man, I'm super sore. Everything was cramping up and pulsating. And I finally pushed my body to a limit that caused some damage. So, and we've been doing that all year. We just hadn't done it. So I guess that, me taking my body past that brink really set it off. So
yeah, for sure. I mean, certainly, you did something to your body it had never experienced before like that. And also, obviously, it could just be a bit of accumulation from the entire season, kind of manifesting itself in that moment as well. But I remember just being in the press conference, you almost going into a full body cramp where you just kind of stiffened up and you're like, my God, my back is tight. Everything. Yeah. I just feel everything right now. So yeah, it's not like you just walked around unscathed after.
No, there's a level of their mortality that you experience after you break a world record. It's a lot of shock. Your body's in shock, and then you have to just deal with that and manage that. And so when you see a lot of people that run fast and then they can't run fast again, like when they run super fast, like their PB, and there's still like rounds to be had, and you're like, well, they just ran a PB. There's no way they're gonna run fast unless it's like on the same day. It's almost impossible to kind of replicate that until you've gotten the proper training and the adaptation that has occurred. So
Yeah, well, speaking of training, we weren't really doing very much training those last couple of weeks, right? Because you were so patterned, and
yeah, I mean, we literally we would do like we would go over like 2 hurdles, and that would be it. We didn't do anything. We literally went over 2 hurdles, and okay, that's that. We're done. Once we got the approach down, that was it. There was no like, oh, we're gonna go over like 8 to 10 hurdles. We're going over 12 hurdles like we were doing in training. Those days were over. Like we were just literally in autopilot, showing up to the Diamond Leagues and running.
yeah, no, for sure. We were basically using the races as your long hurdle training at that point, because they were bunched fairly close together. And other than that, I just remember doing smooth runs, a couple block starts here and there, some med ball throws, and we really didn't have access to many places to lift either. So either we weren't lifting or we were just doing like dumbbell, explosive dumbbell work at that point in the year. So it's not like we kind of trained our way into the world record. We probably, deloaded you just enough to feel good for that last race.
Yeah,
Knowing that
because we were lifting heavy. It was weird because we were still lifting. Like we were lifting every meet still. I was like, dang, we still lifting weights. And people thought we were crazy. They were like, why are they still lifting weights? Like we were lifting weights after the games. We were still lifting. We were lifting.
Yeah, for sure. In anticipation of a final push during that Diamond League season. But yeah, those last couple meets, they happened so quick. What was it? Lausanne, Birmingham, Berlin, Brussels then. Am I leaving anyone out? Any out? I think, yeah.
No. Yeah, we went to every Diamond League that we could. And we had some hiccups at some. I got charged with 2 false starts in the Diamond League that season, one of which was definitely up for scrutiny. Like I had a 1.46 reaction and they threw me out of the race for false start. And I'm like, how? So that was in New York. So I didn't run on that track. And we were gonna run fast in New York. We were ready in New York, but we didn't get a chance to run. And the trials was right after that. And so we ran fast in trials, obviously, but that probably would have shown itself in New York how we ran there, but got charged with false start. And then in Lausanne, I got charged with a false start, which wasn't as scrutinous, but it was still under scrutiny because the rule was like, as long as your feet don't leave the pedal, you're fine. Even if you flinch, and I didn't offload any sensor, there was no sensor that triggered, and they called the false start as well. And I'm just like, okay. And so that's why in the world record race, I just sat because I was like, we're just gonna go when the gun goes off. Nothing to chance. So
yeah, glad you sat in those blocks, bro. That's a good thing. So obviously talked a lot about the world record in hurdling. You are now since retired former hurdler. What's next for you? What are the next steps that you're looking forward to in your life and the career of Aries Merritt?
Well, the next steps for me has always been what I thought my initial job was going to be prior to me becoming the Aries Merritt that you all know was going to be me coaching. I've always wanted to coach, and that was what I was going to school for. I mean, I went to school to get a degree, not in coaching, but I've always wanted to be a coach. And so I assumed that my life would be go to college, get your degree, be a coach somewhere. It wasn't to go to college, become Olympic champion, world record holder, and blah. It wasn't all of that. It was almost more straightforward because athletics is unpredictable, so you don't know what's going to happen. And I became who I am, and so I let that train ride, and now it's time for me to jump off the train and do something else with my life. And so coaching is what I'm going to be doing. And I've been doing a lot of consulting with a lot of current hurdlers that are world champions and world silver medalists, whatever the case may be. Doing some consulting with them, but I think it's time for me to actually be more hands-on, structure programs, structure a strategy for a group of athletes with my vision, so that I can become one of the best hurdle coaches to ever live, or sprint coaches, or coaches in general.
No small ambitions there, but I mean, if you're not striving for not striving to be really good at your profession. I mean, why are you in that profession to begin with, right? So
Exactly, exactly. And I always have that motto: shoot for the stars and land amongst the clouds if you fail, and just keep shooting for them anyways. So,
man, you know, clouds are you can kind of fall through clouds too, right?
but it's a soft landing.
They're soft and fluffy. Okay, all right. Well, hey, but yeah, man. So anyone in the need of a coach, be on the lookout. Aries is currently an unrestricted free agent in the coaching realm. So feel free to reach out if you potentially think he might be a good fit for your program, staff, and student athletes. But yeah, man, from Atlanta to Phoenix, I appreciate you taking the time. Always great seeing you. I know we haven't seen each other in a while, but we'll probably talk on the phone tomorrow. As
Probably.
we
talk about
at least
literally every
texting.
day.
Yeah, pretty much. So, you know,
Yeah.
not much has changed other than, you know, not racing and being in the exact same location all the time. But yeah, thanks for taking the time. Hope that was a enjoyable stroll down memory lane. You know, 10 years, man, time sure flies, and you definitely were flying on September 7th, 2012. So memory
Yeah.
I will never forget, and I know a lot of track fans and anyone in the track community will never forget. So
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely a great time, and I appreciate you guys talking to me. I appreciate you guys allowing me to revisit and recap, you know, what was going on in my head during those magical moments. And you know, I look forward to speaking with you all again in the future.
absolutely, this certainly won't be the last time. Thank you so much, Aries. Stay cool out there in the Valley of the Sun.
Alrighty.